the dust that stole the sun, and a father's unbroken hope. As a reporter, you witness many things. You see triumph, and you see despair. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepares you for the moment the world decides to rip itself apart. I was in Port-au-Prince, the air thick with the vibrancy of life, the city a symphony of everyday sounds. And then, the silence. The terrifying, choking silence that follows the roar of the earth. January 12, 2010. The ground didn't just shake, it screamed. A guttural tear from the very heart of the earth that threw me to my knees. Buildings, sturdy just moments before, crumbled like sandcastles, exhaling colossal clouds of concrete dust that swallowed the sun, painting the sky in a hideous, permanent twilight. The sound of cracking foundations, of shattering dreams, drowned out everything. When the tremors finally subsided, a chilling, unnatural quiet fell, then was broken by the rising chorus of a million broken hearts. I stumbled through the immediate aftermath, my camera lens coated in the dust of 1,000 pulverized lives. It was a nightmare rendered in shades of gray. A city erased. Every street, every alley, a new landscape of ruin and despair. And that's when I saw them. Pierre, his hands already raw and bleeding, tearing at what was left of his home. His wife, Marie, beside him, her face a mask of ash and tears, her lips moving in silent, frantic prayer. They were not alone in their desperation. Thousands were doing the same, pulling at debris, clawing at graves. But their anguish felt uniquely personal, a raw wound laid bare. Their little girl, Céleste, barely 5 years old, was trapped inside. "My baby," Marie cried, her voice a raw, desperate whisper that tore at my soul. We heard her, just a moment ago, a little whimper. I dropped to my knees beside them, digging with the frantic energy of a madman. Each splinter of wood, each chunk of concrete I pulled away, felt like lifting a piece of my own chest. The air was heavy, not just with dust, but with the unseen weight of unspoken goodbyes. Pierre, his eyes burning with a father's fierce, desperate love, told me how they'd been eating lunch. Just a normal, noisy family lunch. And then, the house had simply folded. He and Marie had been thrown out, but Céleste was in the back room. Hours bled into a timeless agony. The sun dipped below the horizon, but the dust cloud refused to disperse, holding the city in its suffocating grasp. Every passing moment, the hope in Marie's eyes flickered, threatened by the encroaching shadows of unimaginable loss. They called Céleste's name, over and over, their voices growing hoarser, weaker. Only silence answered. Then, a miracle, a faint, almost imperceptible scratching. Pierre froze, his face etched with a mix of terror and wild, impossible hope. "Did you hear that?" We dug like men possessed. Every ounce of strength, every fiber of our being, poured into those desperate movements. The pocket of air we were searching for was tiny, fragile. And then, through a sliver of darkness, we saw it. A minuscule, dust-covered hand, reaching out. Céleste. Marie's cry was a broken sob, a sound of pure, unadulterated relief that echoed the raw grief consuming the city. She collapsed onto the rubble, tears finally washing streaks through the grime on her cheeks. With the help of a few other survivors, their faces gaunt with their own suffering, we carefully shifted a large, precariously balanced concrete slab. And there she was, little Céleste, covered in dust, eyes wide with the terror of a child who had seen hell, but alive. She had been shielded by a sturdy piece of furniture, miraculously spared. She was dehydrated, trembling, but otherwise unharmed. Watching Marie clutch her daughter, watching Pierre fall to his knees, his face buried in their embrace, was a moment that will forever be burned into my memory. Amidst the apocalyptic ruin, the endless rows of flattened buildings, the cries of the injured, this one tiny family, against all odds, had found their way back to each other. The scale of the destruction that day was unimaginable, a horror written in collapsed concrete and silent screams. But in that dust-choked twilight, the raw, undeniable force of a family's love, clinging to hope against the impossible, brought me to my knees too. It was a scene of devastation, yes, but more profoundly, it was a testament to the fragile, aching, and ultimately unbreakable spirit of life.